This is the Jason Walker Show. Two-time National Sports Media Association Montana Sportscaster of the Year and three-time loser, the Jason Walker Show. The best local and statewide sports coverage, featuring the biggest guests from Montana.
Flint Rasmussen joining us here on the Jason Walker Show.
He's freaking exhausting, too. You used to dance a lot more. Yeah, I know, lady. I'm 51 years old now.
The NAI Hall of Famer Mike Van Diest joining us here, Jason Walker Show. And is it just a deal where quarterbacks have to be good golfers?
Well, that's all they have time for. They don't work out. They don't lift weights. They don't do anything else. They might as well go get on the golf course and at least have some fun.
And from across the country,
Doug Gottlieb, our guest here on the Jason Walker Show.
End of the day, remember, it's your show. It's got your name on it.
Howie Mandel, our guest here.
Jason Walker, deal or no deal?
The Jason Walker Show, broadcasting from the Major Mortgage Man Cave. Here's Jason Walker.
Happy Monday. The Jason Walker Show, presented by Capital Collision Center and inside the Major Mortgage Man Cave on a beautiful day. A little windy, though. I did not golf today. Golfed on the weekend, but did not golf today. I had my eyes checked today. And, you know, they do that dilation thing. It actually wasn't as bad. She only did like a quarter of it. And so I didn't have the you know what I'm talking about, where you can't read anything. So I could have golfed today, but I didn't. Anyway, hope you had a great weekend. We're going to do a weekend recap with Jordan Hansen coming up, the Missoulian reporter, 406mtsports.com. Stick around tomorrow, early preview. Danny Sprinkle will join us, the head coach of the Montana State Bobcats. And there's some talk of a bubble for basketball. I want to get Coach Sprinkle's thoughts on that and a whole lot more. Don't forget, you can watch on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and also listen on Podbean, Network One Sports. Go to jasonwalkershow.com for anything, and you can email us anytime, or tweet us, or Facebook us, but email is jasonwalkersports@gmail.com. All right, we have talk maybe of Southern Utah for the Big Sky, maybe not going to be around anymore, Southern Utah, and a lot of nominations for Auto Concepts Performance of the Week, which is great, and had some great performances too. And what else we got? We got a lot. Got a lot to get to today on this day in history. So let's get to it. We start with our daily COVID update. And here in a second, as soon as I figure out what I'm doing, because I'm trying to figure something out. There we go. All right. Let's see. Our daily COVID update. Montana reporting 212 new cases. 9,649 have recovered. Active, 5,008. 14,847 confirmed cases since March. 190 deaths. 201 currently in the hospital. And Yellowstone County is seeing a huge increase. 1,164 active cases. And there's a story that if they see more coming out soon, they'll impose new restrictions, which will either go into effect on October or before October 31st or on November 2nd. And then the next day, of course, is Election Day. 121 active cases in Rosebud County, 238 Roosevelt, 157 in Bighorn. 471 Cascade, 281 Glacier, 730 Flathead, 173 Lewis and Clark, 318 Gallatin, 336 Yellowstone. Jefferson County, 43, 81 Deer Lodge, 64 Silver Bow. I mean, the numbers just keep increasing. They keep going up, and we're going to see that. Hill County, 85, 67 in Toole, 54 Blaine. I did see this today. Blackfeet Reservation, as of today, had 312 active COVID cases, according to Blackfeet Incident Command. That is more than double what they had a week ago. The stay-at-home quarantine order remaining in effect on the reservation through at least October 13th. And that means sports, obviously, are affected. And the tribal community has done as much as possible to try to keep COVID away. But it is really, really affecting the reservations in Montana. Something to definitely keep an eye on moving forward. Also did see this today. A North Carolina third grade teacher has died after testing positive for COVID. Her students were quarantined as a result of the exposure. Died over the weekend. Just died days after testing. That's in North Carolina. Also, in the Southeast, Appalachian State, a 19-year-old basketball player died last week of complications from COVID-19. Chad Dorrell, playing basketball, but he was a student for App State, but he died last week. His mom, Susan, issued a statement and said, quote, "As our family suffers this incredible loss, we want to remind you people to wear masks and quarantine if you test positive. Even without symptoms, you have no idea who you can come into contact with that the virus affects differently. Chad was incredibly tired for 2 weeks, and little did we know it was secretly attacking his body in a way they've never seen before. Doctors said that Chad is the rarest 1 in 10 million case, but if it can happen to a super healthy 19-year-old who does not smoke, vape, or do drugs, it can happen to anyone," end quote. Thoughts with that family? And it's a serious deal. There are people on Twitter that responded to me that are saying that they're waiting for MHSA to lay the hammer down, or parents refusing to let their kids play in places that cases are rampant, such as Yellowstone County, Flathead County, Missoula County, Gallatin County, Cascade County, Lewis and Clark, the big ones for AA. It's going to happen. We saw, 8 games postponed last week or canceled? Big Timber Fairfield game was was canceled because it's a non-conference game. But someone in Big Timber tested positive for the disease, and some of the football players were identified as close contacts. So that was canceled. And over the weekend, we saw, 400 plus cases in Montana, a new record. So it's definitely out there, and it's definitely frustrating, and it's definitely scary. Not fear-mongering, not nothing. That's just the case. All right, still to come, we are going to chat with Jordan Hansen on this day in history coming up. Got a big one for sports. And we'll give away our Auto Contest Performance of the Week. Got some great nominees, which we'll get to here in a second as well. Wanted to run through college rodeo. Wrapped up the fall season in the Big Sky region at Northern, with Brody Smith of Western winning the bareback. In fact, Western men won the team title. Montana State men second. Montana State men still have a big lead going into the spring season. On the women's side, MSU women, of course, winning. University of Montana Western women taking second. Montana State women, big lead. Tie down. Taylon Lytle of the University of Montana wins the tie down. Breakaway went to Rylan Lufkin of Western. Remember, we had her on the show. She was the all-around champ last year after the fall season, and then there was no spring season. Saddle bronc, Clancy Glenn of Montana State. Steer wrestling, Clay Johnson of MSU. Goat tying, Lindsay Pulsifer of MSU by 3/100ths over her teammate Paige Rasmussen. Emmy Ilgen of Western was third. Barrel racing, Kristen Kitson of Northern wins on the home track, 27-21. Shay McDonald and Shelby Rasmussen split fourth and fifth. Kim Williams of MSU second. Ellie Linder was third. Team roping. Rope 3 irons, Alonzo Skunkcap taking the win. The Northern and Western Cowboys. Bull riding, Chance Switzer of Dawson goes 146 on 2 head, the only one to ride 2. Men's all-around, Brody Smith out of Western. Women's all-around, Paige Rasmussen of Montana State. So that's the fall season as it ends in the Big Sky region. They'll start back up again in April, hopefully. and they should. So heading in now, Montana State men, Western men, Northwest College, 1, 2, 3. And the Bobcat men have a nearly 600-point lead going into the spring. On the women's side, MSU, Western, Northern. And Montana State women, 2,778 points. Western in second with 1,449. It's not close. Cody Faulkner of Montana State leading the men's all-around. Samantha Kearns leading the women. Saddle Bronc, University of Montana's Tyler Turco. Bareback is being led by Brody Smith of Western. Bull riding, Austin Herrera of Northwest. Tie down, Levi Delamarter of MSU. In fact, MSU has the top 4 spots. Still wrestling, Clay Johnson of MSU. And again, they have the top 4 spots. Team roping header, Garrett Duncan, MSU. Rope 3 irons is in third. I just love that kid. The healer side, Colton Fisher of MSU. Barrel racing, Samantha Kearns, MSU. Breakaway, McKenna Shower of the other one of the schools that I can't even think about right now. Why? I can't read the abbreviation. Goat tying, Paige Rasmussen. Big lead. Where's that girl from? Miles? No, Northwest College. I'm sorry. Anyway. Okay, there we go. We got it all figured out. I knew what I was talking about. All right, here's some nominations. Your auto contest performance of the week. Ready? Christian Hansen had a block punt return, or block field goal return, rather, for a touchdown to lead Butte to a win over Capital. Caden Hewitt, 5 touchdown passes again. Second time he did it, all in the first half, 297 yards. Helena High romped Flathead 40-0. Rafe Miller had 3 touchdowns. Jordan Jones with 5 touchdown passes, 4 to Tucker Macbeth. Bozeman beat CMR 63-19. Libby quarterback Jay Beagle ran for touchdowns, 3 touchdowns. And Libby and Butte Central, which was scoreless at the half, Libby wins 42-14. So there's 56 points scored in the second half. Tel Arthur rushed for 5 touchdowns. Frenchtown beat Polson 56-46. 3 touchdown passes from Tyson Rosted. Hamilton throttled Columbia Falls 35-7. 5 touchdown passes for Carson Hunter in Miles City's win. Gavin Vandenaker caught 3 first quarter touchdown passes from Trey Hovland. Townsend, a 44-0 win. Brady Bucksbaum ran for 3 touchdowns and 5 2-point conversions for Fairview as they beat Westby Grenora by 32. Bill Ullery with 3 scoring passes, 2 more on the ground. Fort Benton rolls Shoto. Cage Struts rushed for 5 touchdowns, passed for another for Big Sandy's big win. Robert Crosby rushed for 274 yards and 5 touchdowns and a 30-yard interception return as Victor snapped a 16-game losing streak by beating Troy 70-52. Lauren Linseth, 24 kills, 29 digs. CMR got a win on 5 over Senior. Tia Mercer, 4 goals, 4 assists. Polson down Libby, 10-0. Helena's Kylie Hartnett with another win in cross country. She might challenge for one of the best all time, and she's already in that category in Montana. Glacier's teammates Jake Rendina. So Rendina goes for 7 rushing touchdowns Thursday. He had 275 yards in a big win over Hellgate. In that game, Hellgate sophomore wide receiver Leo Filardi, 348 yards receiving with 12 catches and 3 touchdowns. A record for an 11-player team in the state. So just some of your nominations. We'll talk to Jordan Hansen about the Glacier win over Hellgate and big win for Sentinel. Double A, we'll talk about Frenchtown. We'll talk about Hamilton. We'll talk about a lot more when Jordan Hansen returns or comes back onto the show. When we come back, Jason Walker Show presented by Capital Collision Center.
New vehicles keep coming, and Capital Collision Center keeps earning certifications to repair them. They're Helena's newest GM-certified facility. No matter the make or year, they repair your car to manufacturer's standards and requirements, maintaining its safety and value. Montana state law says it's your vehicle and it's your choice where you have it repaired. Choose Capital Collision Center, certified in GM, Subaru, and Nissan, and Helena's only shop certified in Honda, Acura, and Ford. When you value safety, go to Capital Collision Center on Euclid.
Have you thought about buying a home and just don't know where to begin? Well, when it comes to one of the most important purchases one can make, we understand it can be frustrating and confusing, but it doesn't have to be. Let the Major Mortgage team help you with all your mortgage needs. Major Mortgage means major service, and we would love the opportunity to help you today. Give J.R. McFadden, NMLS number 1246357, a call today at 406-465-1918, or you can visit him at 2001 11th Avenue, Building A, Suite 3 in Helena. Major Mortgage is a division of AMCAP Mortgage, NMLS number 129122, equal housing lender.
Who doesn't love being number one? When your team's dominating the standings, or your favorite band rocks the charts at number one, it feels good, right? Kind of like how it feels when you have auto insurance with State Farm. Because making you feel like number one is an honor your local State Farm agent takes seriously. Through the good times and not so good, your State Farm agent's proud to be here to help life go right.
Call State Farm agent Mike Miller in Helena today. Yes, it's true that Montana is a long way from the Gulf Coast, but you can bring that Cajun flavor home with a stop at Cafe Zydeco. From po' boys to classic sandwiches, Cafe Zydeco has all the best Cajun in town. Are you in the mood for seafood gumbo or crawfish etouffee? Maybe you're craving jambalaya with some shrimp and grits. Head in for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, or call ahead for pickup or delivery. Cafe Zydeco will fix all your southern cravings, even on a chilly Montana day. Cafe Zydeco is a proud sponsor of The Jason Walker Show. Fall is officially here, and now's the perfect time to get your rig tuned up before the big hunt. That means a lift kit from Auto Concepts. An Auto Concepts lift kit will help take you places only the animals can go. And when you do get that big one, make sure you have help to get it home with a winch to pull it out. Or maybe you'll be a good friend and help pull someone out of the snowbank. Check out AutoConceptsHelena.com for more ideas. Auto Concepts, the auto enhancement professionals. Do you love to look at photos of Montana, from animals to landscapes and more? Are you looking for a place to get your senior pictures or family portraits done? Are you a business owner looking to upgrade the decor in your offices? Well, look no further than Mark LaRoe Photography. Mark has been shooting beautiful photos all across the Treasure State, from rodeos to portraits, and would love to work with you. Visit marklaroephotography.com to see many masterpieces of his work, then give him a call to schedule your own photo shoot. Or to purchase one of his fantastic pieces, stop by Spirit of the Big Sky Gallery on Custer in Helena. MarkLaRoePhotography.com.
Store-wide savings are what you'll find when you shop for new home furnishings at Rucker's Furniture. This means tremendous values on Helena's largest in-stock selection of home furnishings. When you shop Rucker's, you'll find store-wide savings on the furniture you want for every room in your home. And you'll also find our selection of Serta iComfort, the most comfortable beds in Helena. 12-month financing is available with approved credit on most purchases over $299. Ask for details. You'll find store-wide savings at Rucker's Furniture, 1010 Dearborn, Helena.
Welcome back, Jason Walker Show. Monday in the Major Mortgage Man Cave, we are presented by Capital Collision Center. You know, we know the great work the Capital Collision Center has done. Both my vehicle, many other vehicles here, not only in Helena, but across the county and across the people just from across the state bring their vehicle in. Well, that is because Capital Collision was one of the first shops in the country to become manufacturer certified, requiring special training and equipment. It is very important to Capital Collision that your vehicle is properly repaired to manufacturer repair requirements to maintain the safety and value of your vehicle. Well, what does that mean? That means that when your vehicle's getting fixed, there's a playbook, whether it's Ford, Subaru, GM, that they follow step by step to make sure that your vehicle is basically like it came off the factory. That's how the repair is done. It's beautiful. Capital Collision Center on Euclid in Helena. Jordan Hansen is running errands, so he'll join us in the next segment, which is no big deal because we'll just shift, just turn a little bit our segments here, which is actually okay. So there's some confusion right now. So we talked about Tia Mercer had 4 goals and 4 assists for Polson Soccer in a 10-0 win over Libby over the weekend. Well, then there's this from Jack Ginsburg at MontanaSports.com that the girls' soccer team actually has been on quarantine at Polson since the 29th of September. And so they canceled the game with Columbia Falls on the 29th. It says they'll miss the final 3 games of the season against Libby, Big Fork, and Whitefish. Well, they just played Libby. So if someone knows what the hell is going on, how did Tia Mercer score 4 goals and have 4 assists if Polson canceled its game against Libby? This was a 10-0 win on Saturday against Libby. So that's crazy for sure. No doubt about that. So, all right, we'll dive into that because that's just goofy, right? I'm not the only one thinking this. Maybe I am. Who knows? You can email me, jasonwalkersports@gmail.com. You can tweet the show at jwalkersports. You can get a hold of us on the Facebook as well. Ooh, the neighbor's got his garage door open. It's weird. Our neighbors are very interesting. They never leave their house except for work. I got the garage open right now, but my shade is mostly shut. I can't quite see in. Okay, anyway. Feel like was it Rear Window? Is that what it was? No. Yeah, that Hitchcock movie where the dude just I feel like a weird spy or something. Anyway, Southern Utah could be leaving the Big Sky Conference soon. This report came out Friday? Late Friday? Saturday? Friday. They could be leaving the Big Sky Conference for the Western Athletic Conference. On Friday, Matt Brown, a former SB Nation editor, and now works for, was it called Extra Points, said a source, quote, familiar with the WAC's decision-making, end quote, revealed the new member would be Southern Utah. According to this report, SUU said that the school hadn't received an official invitation, according to President Scott Wyatt. He said, quote, has not received an SUU, Southern Utah University, has not received an official offer to join any other conference, although the discussion comes up from time to time. We would not consider changing conferences unless it presented enhanced opportunities for our Division I student athletes and for our community, end quote. But State of the University address by Tarleton State President James Hurley said that statement is not entirely true. He said they're adding new members. Just yesterday voted on a new member. And in the next week or two, you'll see them make an announcement, and it sounds like it's going to be Southern Utah. Tarleton State, a new member of the WAC. Dixie State, which moved up as well. The WAC does not have enough football playing teams to go full FCS. Remember, the WAC used to be pretty good on the D1 level, but then it kind of dissolved. So they have to have 6. So you've got Tarleton State and Dixie that both play football. In fact, Montana State was supposed to play Dixie State pre-COVID this year. New Mexico State as well. New Mexico State's an FBS independent. Tarleton Dixie FCS independents. Now, with Southern Utah, the Big Sky has 13 football playing members and 11 full. Prior to joining the Big Sky, Southern Utah played football in the Great West. And then in 2012, you had North Dakota join, which they just left, a year or so ago to go to the Missouri Valley. And Cal Poly, UC Davis are football-only members. Idaho came back, remember, a couple of years ago, dropping down. And of course, the speculation is that other Big Sky teams could potentially then leave the Big Sky to go to the WAC, such as a Northern Arizona, which would make sense because of geographics as far as not traveling all over the West. And NAU that was a big one on the Twitter over the weekend. Lance Hartzler, who we've talked to with on the show, mentioned that it would be an NAU Southern Utah type thing going together. Could you see a Poly or in Davis maybe going football only to the WAC to give them their 6 that they need? The Big Sky is too big. The Big Sky definitely needs to lose some teams. There's no question about that. You're going to probably see, and over the course of the next couple of years, it's terrible, but it probably will happen. I think Portland State and Northern Colorado drop to D2. Just financially, there's no way they can stay, especially after losing football this year. And if there's no football in the spring, which I don't think there's going to be, then it's going to be tough for Portland State and Northern Colorado to stay above the D2 and stay in the FCS D1 level. So something to keep an eye on. Ken Haslam, University of Montana athletic director, was asked by 406mtsports.com about Southern Utah possibly leaving, and he said, quote, "News to me," end quote. So we'll see. I think that news probably breaks here at the end of this week or next week. Southern Utah is going to be leaving. And it's a smart move. I mean, they're in the middle of nowhere. Teams fly into Las Vegas and then drive back to Cedar City. That's how, it's hard to get to Cedar City. It's a long bus ride. And if you go to Vegas, I think it's like a 3-hour bus ride back instead of like 10 hours one way from like a MSU or UM. So keep an eye on that. What else did we want to hit on before we get to our good buddy Jordy Nelson? Or no, Jordy Hansen. Would I call him Jordy Nelson? Who the hell's Jordy Nelson? Did he play football for the Packers? Was that it? Jordy Nelson was the wide receiver for the Packers? Good Lord. By the way, some more nominations. Can't believe I forgot about these guys. How about your golfers? Your state winners on the golf. How about that? On the team, on Class A, you had Whitefish boys and Cameron Zakali, who won in a playoff over teammate Billy Smith, a one-hole playoff. Girls, Laurel, again, wins. Macy Greenwood of Corvallis, though, wins the individual crown. Double A, the Bozeman girls, that's what, 5 straight now? Sammy Yates wins it by a stroke over teammate Cooper Narr. And Cade McDonough, a freshman out of Sentinel, wins by 4 shots. Sentinel boys win the team title over the Bozeman boys, or the Gallatin boys. Gallatin by 6 shots. Yes, Jordy Nelson was the Packers wide receiver. And there's a story. What's the story of him and Aaron Rodgers in a hot tub with some girl? Is that like from 10 years ago? Am I just making stuff up, or does that sound familiar to anybody else? I could be making it up. I have no idea. We're going to talk to Jordan Hansen when we come back next. Jason Walker Show. Stay with us.
New vehicles keep coming, and Capital Collision Center keeps earning certifications to repair them. They're Helena's newest GM-certified facility. No matter the make or year, they repair your car to manufacturer's standards and requirements, maintaining its safety and value. Montana state law says it's your vehicle and it's your choice where you have it repaired. Choose Capital Collision Center, certified in GM, Subaru, and Nissan, and Helena's only shop certified in Honda, Acura, and Ford. When you value safety, go to Capital Collision Center on Euclid.
Fall is officially here, and now is the perfect time to get your rig tuned up before the big hunt. That means a lift kit from Auto Concepts. An Auto Concepts lift kit will help take you places only the animals can go. And when you do get that big one, make sure you have help to get it home with a winch to pull it out. Or maybe you'll be a good friend and help pull someone out of the snowbank. Check out AutoConceptsHelena.com for more ideas. Auto Concepts, the auto enhancement professionals.
Store-wide savings are what you'll find when you shop for new home furnishings at Rucker's Furniture. This means tremendous values on Helena's largest in-stock selection of home furnishings. When you shop Rucker's, you'll find store-wide savings on the furniture you want for every room in your home. And you'll also find our selection of Serta iComfort, the most comfortable beds in Helena. 12-month financing is available with approved credit on most purchases over $299. Ask for details. You'll find store-wide savings at Rucker's Furniture, 1010 Dearborn, Helena.
Fall is officially here, and now is the perfect time to get your rig tuned up before the big hunt. That means a lift kit from Auto Concepts. An Auto Concepts lift kit will help take you places only the animals can go. And when you do get that big one, make sure you have help to get it home with a winch to pull it out. Or maybe you'll be a good friend and help pull someone out of the snowbank. Check out AutoConceptsHelena.com for more ideas. Auto Concepts, the auto enhancement professionals. Do you love to look at photos of Montana, from animals to landscapes and more? Are you looking for a place to get your senior pictures or family portraits done? Are you a business owner looking to upgrade the decor in your offices? Well, look no further than Mark LaRoe Photography. Mark has been shooting beautiful photos all across the Treasure State, from rodeos to portraits, and would love to work with you. Visit marklaroephotography.com to see many masterpieces of his work, then give him a call to schedule your own photo shoot. Or to purchase one of his fantastic pieces, stop by Spirit of the Big Sky Gallery on Custer in Helena. marklaroephotography.com. Oh, welcome back, Jason Walker Show. I have no idea what I'm doing right now. I'm trying to fix stuff, trying to show something cool. It's not working. I'm calling guests the wrong name. Maybe I've got COVID. I don't know. I don't have COVID. I don't want to get that rumor started. All right, I want to get to our next guest, our first guest. Wow, it's a Monday, and I haven't even been drinking yet today. Jordan Hansen joining us from the Missoulian, 406mtsports.com. Terrific sports reporter. How are you? Before you answer that, I called you Jordy Nelson from the Green Bay Packers, the old wide receiver from back in the day. I guess that's not bad, right?
No, I mean, he's a little bit more talented than me in probably just about every aspect that you could possibly be more talented than someone, but, you know.
Are you a Packers fan?
No, I'm a Vikings fan, actually.
Ooh, so that's kind of a double in calling you Jordy Nelson.
You know, I always kind of liked him though, and I think it was because, you know, we had the same first somewhat nickname, but you know, I mean, he's good. He was a good slot receiver. I mean, you know, he wasn't quite Julian Edelman, but you know,
that's a big comparison there. Hey, so do you remember this story? Was he with a hot tub with some girls and Aaron Rodgers? I don't remember this entirely. I could be making it up.
I mean, that sounds vaguely familiar, but again, as a Vikings fan, I really can't say much of anything with the whole Love Boat and everything in the early aughts. I mean, started talking about Michael Bennett and yada yada yada. So I don't really know if Vikings fans have too much room to talk on TMZ rumors with that in the past. So.
I got you. Jordan Hansen joining us here, Jason Walker Show. It's like the Jason Hansen. If we combined, we'd be the kicker for the Cowboys and the Lions.
And again, probably making a lot more money than either one of us make. So.
There's no question about that. Hey, all right, let's get to what you really know, and that is high school sports in Montana. And before we get to our top 5 polls of the week, there were some great performances over the weekend, not only in football and soccer too. But let's start Thursday night, because you saw a dual great performance with Glacier and Hellgate, and almost 2 records broken.
Yeah, and that game being good kind of came out of a little bit of nowhere. I mean, it's one of those things where, Hellgate really hasn't, looked that good, the first couple weeks, and, but they've been getting better. And I mean, Glacier was undefeated coming in and obviously ended up winning the game. But Jake Rendina is one heck of a running back, and he scored 7 touchdowns, which was unbelievable. But then you have Leo Filardi, a sophomore slot wide receiver for Hellgate that just casually just drops 348 yards and on 12 catches and scores 3 touchdowns and just casually breaks the state record on a Thursday night. It was incredible, especially that third quarter. Hellgate got within 3 points twice, and then it was back and forth, and the coaches and stuff were going on the sidelines, and one of them was like, "Man, you gotta write 3 stories about this," and it's like, this is gonna be all over. And it was cool though, and it was fun to see Hellgate kind of have something like that, because they've been kind of down, and to be able to really win a game like that, especially with just kind of how crazy that was, or to be in a game like that, not win obviously, but no, that was fun. And Dante Myrie, the Hellgate quarterback, he wasn't even sure he was going to play on that Thursday.
Right.
It wasn't until Thursday afternoon that he was like, yeah, my ankle's feeling a little bit better, because he got knocked out of their game against Helena High and didn't return. So, they went all week working with another quarterback, and then, they just throw their starting quarterback in to, and he throws for well over 400 yards. So
wow.
It was pretty incredible. And the other thing too is that Ian Finch for Hellgate caught 4 2-point conversions, which I've never seen at a double A or even an A level. Some kid catching, just one kid catching, 4 of those. And I guess the 49ers could have used that last night, huh?
No question about that. But yeah, I mean, one game where you get these great performances, and for Filardi, like you said, he's working with a new quarterback all week, and then he goes out and has 12 catches. How many times did they target him?
Shoot, it would have had to probably been 15 or 16. And Ian Finch too probably had a lot of targets, but there was just some overthrows, especially in the end zone. And Hellgate could have won that game. I mean, they had chances. At the end of the first half, they had I think it was 5 or 6 plays, because there was a penalty. They had 5 or 6 plays within their own 20, and they just kept taking fade route shots in the end zone, but they could just not get in and they couldn't run the ball either. I think they ran the ball 5 times, and they passed it 55 times. It was if you like high speed football like that, it was just crack. I mean, it was incredible.
And I think it was 40-38 at one point, and then Glacier gets the final 2 scores to make it seem larger than it was. But what a great game Thursday. And then we saw Gallatin get pounded by Skyview. Skyview's won 2 in a row now after losing 22 straight.
Yeah, the Falcons are looking a little bit better. It's hard to say with Gladden being in their first year like that, but that was impressive. I thought Helena beating Kalispell the way that he did was, and then Butte just coming out of nowhere to block a field goal and return it for a touchdown, ended up winning 20-13. I mean, there's some real good games in the Double A, and Bozeman kind of asserting its will on CMR as well.
Yep.
That was a big one, and they jumped back into my rankings this week kind of on the basis of that, because I don't think CMR is great, but they're a fairly decent team, and Bozeman put the hurt on them. So
it appears that they found a quarterback, Jordan Jones, in Bozeman, 5 touchdown passes. You mentioned the 2-point conversion, and I had this on my Some of the nominations for, here you go, Brady Bucksbaum from Fairview scored 3 touchdowns rushing and then had 5 2-point conversions. Now, I know it's a little different in Class 8-man Class C, but that's still impressive too.
I mean, hauling in all those passes, he's probably freaking sore on today, I'm sure still. But yeah, no, that was a phenomenal performance by him as well. And just, Thompson Falls continues to do their thing. Their running back had a really good game for them as well. And yeah, it's starting to get fun. The season's starting to get real fun.
No doubt about that. Jordan Hansen joining us from the Missoulian. Some other great performances over on your side of the state. Tell Arthur, big 5 touchdowns for Frenchtown and a big shootout with Polson. But here's the big one. We talked about it last week. Hamilton, Columbia Falls, and it wasn't even close. It's 35-7.
Yeah, Hamilton just came in and immediately asserted its will on them. I think there was a stat out there that Columbia Falls hasn't beaten Hamilton only has a losing record against teams with a winning record, and they've only won one game in their last 13 against teams with a winning record or something like that. So that one turned into a little bit more of a hammering than maybe I thought it would. And another one too, Libby, gets past Beat Central. That game was tied 0-0 at halftime, and the two teams combined for 8 touchdowns in the second half, which is just, very on brand for some Class A football, but still just kind of makes you scratch your head a little bit. It's like, all right, well, and we didn't even talk about maybe the biggest one, that Billings West, hammering Billings Senior too, and some great highlights that came out of that, and just some impressive performances by the Bears as well. So it's like, it's one of those things where it's like I said, things are starting to pick up a little bit.
They definitely are. We're getting to that playoff chase now, the real kind of chase, I think. Here is Jordy Hansen joining us from the Missoulian. All right, I want to talk about this Tia Mercer real quick, because what an unbelievable performance in this game that apparently didn't happen, but then it did. But she had 4 goals and 4 assists for the Polson soccer team, which is on quarantine, but they beat Libby 10-0.
Well, maybe they're just in quarantine together. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what's going on here. I mean, everything's, conflicting, all the time. I just as you kind of mentioned that a little bit before the show, I did see what you're saying, and it looks like Jack Ginsburg wrote a story about how the Polson soccer team's in quarantine right now. So that'll be interesting to see. Maybe it was one of those things where it was just a close case and not someone on the team infected, and then they went from there or whatever. But it's definitely different, and I'm kind of surprised that Sentinel and Hellgate, haven't had too much. I mean, I think Sentinel on their volleyball team, but they're shut down for a little bit. But I'm kind of surprised that the 3 football teams haven't had more. But it's just one of those things. I'm almost curious too at this point. Are we going to get to the end of the season? I mean, this last Friday, I think it was 8 or 9 games that got canceled. Yep. Kind of last minute as well. It just makes you wonder too. It's okay, with some of these teams only playing, a couple games, a team like Malta or a team like Hot Springs that they've had games constantly, canceled. It's how does that play into the, how does that play into postseason stuff, seeding stuff? I mean, some teams you have I think that I was looking at the conference games. I can't remember who it was, but there was a team that has only played 1 conference game, and they're 2-2, but they were 1-0 in the conference, so they were technically at the top of their conference, and that just is okay, is that and whoever was below them was 3-1 in conference, and just the math is hard. Math is always hard, and this math is more difficult than normal.
Oh, no question about it, and it's going to be very interesting, like you say. When you look at Hot Springs was supposed to play White Sulphur Springs, that game didn't happen. They're still both 2-0, and that's it. I mean, what if they don't play another game? Can you take a team out of the West for the playoffs?
Yeah, and I just found the one that I was talking about. It's Shepherd. Shepherd's 1-2 and 1-0 in conference, and Huntley Project's 3-1 overall, but they're 3-1 in conference. So riddle me that. I don't understand how you can, give Shepherd, assuming that they would. I haven't looked at the rest of the schedule, but assuming that they would, win a couple more games. How could they be the top seed when Huntley's obviously the better team, and then especially when in the North you have like Glasgow that's 2-0, Fairfield or
3-0.
6-0. Yeah, 3-0 in conference and 6-0 overall, and then Fairfield's that's 3-0 and Malta that's 3-0, and they just have played half the games that Glasgow has. So like, it's interesting.
It definitely is, because we're just a couple of weeks from getting the playoffs started here.
Right, like allegedly.
Allegedly, yeah. Let's say that. I got a tweet. I don't know if you saw it, but I got a tweet from somebody over in Western Montana. But they said, waiting for MHSA to lay the hammer down, or parents to refuse to let their kids play in places that cases are rampant. When you look at the big cities, we know Browning. I mean, the Blackfeet Reservation. I don't know if Browning is going to get to play the rest of the year.
I don't know.
It's going to be crazy because they have 312 active cases on the reservation alone. But when you look at, over 1,100 cases in Yellowstone, 730 in Flathead, Cascade, Great Falls, 471. You got 336 in Missoula. I mean, how does it? I don't know. I just don't know. And then the smaller towns, you got like Roosevelt County with 238. I mean, there's, that's next to Glasgow. I mean, Wolf Point, Glasgow, Malta, all those teams up there. I don't know how it's going to happen.
No, and I do think you're on something a little bit, when you say that parents mind. But I think that a lot of parents just want their kids to play too, and I think that's kind of been one of the driving forces through all of this, is that just the parents are kind of, I won't say flexing their power, but they're definitely putting pressure on the schools and the other stuff. And then you have the MHSA, which I've been critical of, and I think that they really haven't done a good job of being the leadership that they need to be. And this goes back to the summer when they just kind of kicked back everything to the schools and stuff. And we're like, well, we're not going to make any of these decisions. You can make all these decisions on your own. Yeah. And that just, makes things way more difficult for everybody. And I know coaches, have been frustrated, and administrators have been frustrated with some of that because, they just don't always have the answers to the questions that, parents or kids or, whomever is asking them, because they just don't know. And it's, especially now, it's hard to predict things, going, forward. And I think maybe now that, significant figures in our government are coming down with this, maybe people will be a little bit more, like, oh yeah, like this can happen to me as well too. So it's like, I mean, I don't know. Like we kind of been saying this whole time, it's just kind of hard to predict what, the next week will even bring in some cases.
Well, and coaches are saying that, and I feel for the coaches. The only people and you and I have taken a hit on social media at times over the last 6 months, but the only ones I don't feel bad for are the parents. I feel bad for the administrators, the schools, the coaches, and the kids. We all want, doesn't matter how we feel about COVID and how we feel about the safety, we all want a season for these kids. We want them to not have to suffer through anything. And whether it's A, getting COVID, but B, just being able to play their seasons.
Right. And, I was kind of kicking around a calm idea in my head kind of about that. And I really don't feel for the parents either. And I think that one thing that we could have done and we should have done is just, continue with these like limited, number of spectators and stuff at these games. At the very least, that looks good. I mean, and it's like, okay, like, we don't really have very many parents. We don't really have very many people at these games. We can't trace, there's no trace back to these games because, the parents, there wasn't that many people there. I mean, and it just would look good. And it's like, okay, well, schools and, these games aren't the spreading points for this. So then, we can just continue to, have it. So I guess that's kind of where some of my frustration, lies as well, is that just, we could have done a better job about, like limiting things and just even from a PR standpoint, it would just look better. But, the parents were kind of selfish about this, I think. And I think that's going to, could eventually, cause the season to end early. So I just, and again, I want these kids to be able to play. I want these coaches to be able to coach and, do what they love. It's just frustrating too. Because I mean, a lot of us, I think, kind of saw how this was kind of going and how this was, moving forward. And I don't know. I could ramble about that for a week, but I'll save your listeners and save you from that monologue.
Jordan Hansen, our guest here, Jason Walker Show. All right, before we talk college, I want to get your poll that you submitted both to 406 MT Sports and also the Treasure State Media poll. So, AA, you go first this week.
Sure. Okay, so pretty similar to what we've had. Sentinel, West, Helena, Glacier, and then Bozeman. Helena, I mean, I think is a strong third. West, at this point, you could put them above Sentinel. They play better teams than what Sentinel has. And Sentinel this next week plays Hellgate. I don't think their first test is going to come until a little bit later, in the season. So I could definitely see people putting West above Sentinel. I still have Sentinel as number one because I think, they're undefeated, and they look like the best team in the state. But I think once they get a real test, I think that'll make things a little bit more clear. But I mean, just even in the game that they had against Big Sky on Friday, I mean, they're up 14-0 at half, didn't look good, and then within the first 3 minutes of the second half, they scored 2 touchdowns. They're up 28-0. The game's done, and they just have that ability to score on you at will and then shut you down on defense. And I think they turned Big Sky over 4 times on 4th down, including one at literally the 6-inch line. It was, well, not the line, but they're literally 6 inches away from the goal line. And, it's just that team can do that. And so that's kind of my justification for keeping Sentinel above West. But I could definitely see a little bit of switcheroo there too.
Well, I'm going to go with 2 justifications. I have the exact same poll. I've got Sentinel, West, Helena, Glacier, Bozeman's back in my top 5 as well because they've played so well since that first game of the season, and they got Kenneth Iden back the 4th, which is huge, both on both sides of the ball. Sentinel was the number 1 team in the preseason, so to me, you can't move them until they lose, and you can't put anybody above them until they lose, and so I've got to keep them. To me, they're still the number 1 team in the state. They've gone out, they've won, and we're going to find out here in the next 2 weeks, Jordy, starting Friday, how good Helena High is. And that defense is really, really good. But they have Glacier this week, and then they're Sentinel the week after that. Both of those, I believe, are at home. So that'll help the Bengals. But that's going to be a next big 2 weeks, really, for all 3 of those teams.
Mm-hmm. And Sentinel really hasn't played anybody on the road yet. I mean, they went to Butte and spanked Butte and Naranche, which is difficult. No ifs or buts about it. But I mean, that's kind of one of the advantages that Billings schools and Missoula schools have is that I mean, each year they're away games against Big Sky and Hellgate or away games against Skyview and Senior, West, however you want to look at that. Those are still in town and they're more or less home games.
Yep.
Or neutral site games, I guess would probably be a better way.
Right. Yeah. There's no disadvantage to being on the road there for those schools at those games. So, same top 5 in the AA. Class A, I've got Miles City, Hamilton, Billings Central, Dillon, Columbia Falls.
Similar. I have Hamilton, Miles City, Billings Central, Dillon, Laurel, and then I actually have Libby at 6, and then I'd have Columbia Falls at 7.
Oh, okay. Reasoning?
Yeah, so just dropping down Columbia Falls a little bit just because of that performance against Hamilton. I mean, it's hard. Libby's 6-1 or 5-1, excuse me, and they've looked pretty decent at points. I'm trying to remember who they played this weekend. BC. We already talked about it. And that's a team that I think gets Hamilton next week. So I mean, that'll tell some things about them. But
has Sioux Falls and Libby played yet?
Yeah, they played early in the season. I think that won. I think that's Libby's one loss.
Okay. So yeah, pretty similar. I like it. We're still smart. We're still together. Class B, Fairfield, Manhattan, Glasgow. I moved Townsend in at number 4, just the way that they've been playing, and then I've got a tie with Malta and Florence Carleton at 5.
I'm still pretty high on Florence. I've got Manhattan at the top, Fairfield, Glasgow, Florence, Townsend, and then just Malta, and then Big Fork, and then Huntley. Okay. I'm a big proponent of that Townsend defense. I mean, they played really good against Whitehall. They played really good against Columbus. it'll be fun to see what they kind of look like, kind of down the road. That's a team that, especially this year, I think that defense is going to be one of the things that's going to win you a championship. And we'll see. We'll see if they can get out of the first round.
They also got a school record 40-yard field goal from Sam Lane in their win over Three Forks this week. But I mean, Trey Hovland is great. Gavin Vanderaker, they're just athletes. And at Class B, that's what you get. You don't have just football kids. You have athletes. And every one of those teams we just named has a ton of them.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the things that makes Class B football so fun is that, you pull kids from, different kind of backgrounds like that. And, you get your farm boys and you get some of your other, players as well and athletes as well. And it definitely makes that a lot of fun.
All right, 8-man. You go first.
Sounds good. My Fort Benton Longhorns, and then Thompson Falls, Joliet, Flint Creek, Scobie, Fairview, and then I just have Belton Shelby following that. So going a little bit further down this week, trying to help out Victor, who usually does 10 for B, 8-man and 6-man.
Oh, okay.
So,
yeah, that's right. They do. Yeah. And 406mtsports.com, great power poll. And then, of course, Treasure State Media Poll comes out on Wednesdays. So it's fun to compare them, which is weird because a lot of you guys vote in both. Okay, here's my 8-man. You're going to love me. I moved Fort Benton to number 1.
There you go.
I got Thompson Falls and then Drummond Phillipsburg / Flint Creek. Joliet 4. And then I go in a tie for 5. I've got Belt, Charlo, and my Westbury Grenora Thunder.
Yeah. Didn't Westy or no? They didn't play this week.
Yeah, they got pounded.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so I drop them to 5, but I still got to stick behind my Thunders. They're lone loss in 8-man.
And Fairview's a tough team, so you can't always drop them for that. So definitely some good games in the 8-man ranks as well this week. And Bridger took down a good Broadview Lavina team, and I mean that's the Bridger team that I think is like 2-2, maybe still has a little bit of a chance. And I was kind of surprised Ennis beating Sheridan as well. I mean that was a Sheridan team that it's kind of good this year. I mean they're 3-2 now, and that was a big rivalry game for them for sure. Especially now that they're back up in the 8-man and can play the Ennis and Twin Bridges of the world again. So I know down there in the southwest corner of the state, that's big time football. And
what's interesting about that Broadview Lavina game in 6-man is, Broadview Lavina had not allowed a point until last week when they gave up 50 to Shields Valley and they gave up 50 to Bridger. They've given up 100 points in the last 2 games.
Yeah, and I'm mixing up my 8-man and 6-man again, so fire me into the sun.
Oh, I still got you. We're good. You're just moving on. It's fine. 6-man, Big Sandy, Shields Valley, Floyd Lake, Richie Lambert, and my Power Dutton Brady.
Yeah, I still have Hot Springs in there. I know we're kind of talking about it, and it is hard with them with 2 games, but I've got Big Sandy, Shields Valley, Floyd Lake, Hot Springs, Power, Tri-City, and then Richie Lambert.
Okay.
So pretty similar to what you've got.
Yep. No, and I like it. I like it a lot. Some big games this weekend, as you mentioned. You look in Class B, you got Glasgow Malta for 1. This normally would have been a big game, but Eureka Loyola, that's not even a good game anymore, I don't think. Is it?
No, Eureka's really kind of fallen off. I was a little bit surprised. It'll be fun to see what Big Timber and Manhattan can do. I mean, I think Manhattan will win that game pretty handily. Three Forks Jefferson should be okay. Whitehall should beat Columbus, and that's kind of a big game for Whitehall because they're kind of still a little bit hanging around in that potential playoff spot, and that's a Columbus team that they should win against. So that'll definitely be one to watch for me. And then going down a little bit, West Buchanora and Brados, that should be an okay game. Belton Shelby will play, at the 8-man level 2, and that should be another one to kind of watch. Power plays Big Sandy down in the 6-man, so that'll be one to watch. And then Knoxon coming off a couple straight wins, playing Hot Springs, assuming that game happens. That'll be Yeah, seriously, hopefully. And for Lake Lebo, that should be an okay game as well. So definitely some games to watch. Grass Range and then Tri-Cities as well. So I mean, there's plenty to look around with. So.
Dylan at Libby. That's a long road trip for the Beavers and against a really good team. We'll find out that whoever wins that game stays alive. The other one, you're done.
Yep. Well, and that's exactly what that Folsom Frenchtown game this week was too. I mean, Frenchtown saved their playoff hopes with that, and they have a winnable schedule kind of out. As they don't have to really play too much of anybody. As they go through the latter parts of the season. So. That'll be a big one. And then I was trying to remember what the big AA games are this week.
Well, you got Glacier at Helena. I think that's might be the biggest. Victor.
Capital.
Oh, go ahead. I was just gonna say Victor. After losing so many in a row and getting a win, they're at Charlotte this week. So.
Yeah, I'll see if they can see if that was a fluke or. But I was just gonna say Capital and Big Sky. I mean, it's a game at the bottom of the conference, but I think it'll be a good one and one that Big Sky should have a chance to win. I know that they're pretty excited about what they feel like they can do through the rest of the season, but we'll definitely see. See if Whitefish can test Hamilton as well.
I saw that one.
Yeah.
I did want to bring this up. So that Knoxon or White Sulphur Hot Springs game was supposed to play last week. They moved it to this Saturday at 1:00, but Knoxon is supposed to play Hot Springs Friday night. Is Knoxon just done, or is Hot Springs done?
I'm honestly not sure on that one, and that's one that I was actually kind of curious about as well about their scheduling. We hadn't heard scores from them in the last couple of weeks. I personally need to reach out to their coach to see what's kind of going on, but I'm sure it's more than a little bit of frustration there for them, especially again that's a Hot Springs team. It's a good Hot Springs team. It's just they haven't had the chance to play much of anything for games. So
here's your other AA. Butte's at Flathead. I think Butte rolls in that one. Capital Big Sky. Hellgate's at Sentinel, so Sentinel stay 5 or be 5-0. Gallatin is at CMR. Cellar Dwellers. I'm gonna pick Gallatin. And then you got Bozeman Belgrade has already been canceled. So Bozeman's going to lose a game and lose that. Do they lose the momentum now because they have a bye week?
I don't really know on that one. I mean, you would think maybe because especially coming off a big win like that, and like you're saying, like figuring out a quarterback, figuring out some of your offense, getting Kenneth back. I mean, that's gonna, especially that being again, Bozeman can sort of have their, city championship sort of games as well as now, and that's kind of going out the wayside. And it was a little bit surprising for me because it seemed like Belgrade just kind of just shut everything down. It wasn't just one or the other. It was pretty much all of them, which was definitely a little bit surprising to me. We hadn't really seen that happen, especially at a school of that size yet. So. That had the little exclamation points flashing in my head a little bit. So.
Mm-hmm. Nope, I agree. The other one, Skyview at Senior, and then Great Falls High at West. So Senior and West should roll. I think the only big change we'll see is that Glacier and Helena High game. I mean, we're going to see which one of those two can keep pace with the likes of Sentinel and West.
And honestly, I think it'll be Helena. I mean, I think that Hellgate kind of exposed some of the Glacier's corners a little bit in the secondary. I know Hellgate was pretty happy with how they were able to get some separation, and Helena has some wide receivers, and obviously they have a great quarterback that will be able to take advantage of some of those matchups. I think, and on the defensive side of the ball, I mean, I think Helena has a huge advantage there just because of the athletes that they have, and what they can do with their blitz packages and their coverage packages and stuff like that. It's just it's impressive, and they're playing at a really high level.
They are.
I think they're obviously very well coached, and I think that's a big part of it too. Is if you can really coach up your secondary and defense, and again, especially like this year where trying to put in some of the things in your offense maybe is start a little bit later than what you wanted to for some schools. So.
Jordan Hansen, our guest here, Jason Walker Show. Before I let you go, there was the news that came out on Friday that the Big Sky could potentially be losing Southern Utah It looks as if it's going to happen based off some statements from Tarleton State president. But look like SUU is going to head to the WAC, which is now going to be an FCS program or conference. Remember when the WAC used to be pretty good on T1 and now they're going to be an FCS? But with Southern Utah leaving, potentially, that would leave the Big Sky with 12. And then possibly you and I both know Lance Hartzler, who covers the Lumberjacks down at Northern Arizona, down there in Flagstaff. He thinks NAU could leave as well.
Yeah, and I think there'd be a lot of Grizz and possibly some Cat fans too that would not think that was the worst thing in the world. I mean, there's a lot of, people that I think believe that the Big Sky is a little bit too big for what it should be. But once you start losing some of these teams, I mean, I think you're going to start losing some of the California teams, and the Big Sky could be hurting a little bit here, especially with the WAC maybe coming into its own. And it looks like you need 6 teams to be able to get an auto bid for an FCS team to get in the playoffs. And it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see if they can get New Mexico State to drop down from FBS. They've been an independent for years. I mean, I know that they've been in the Sun Belt and just a couple other conferences before the WAC. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But we had it on pretty good authority last week that this was probably going to happen. I reached out to SUU on last Tuesday, and we were going to do an interview, and then I wasn't going to lie to him. I told him that, what my questions were going to be about, and didn't hear a peep back after that. So,
oh, wow.
That was kind of a little bit, what's confirmation without saying anything.
Right.
And it's actually kind of funny. The guy that Matt Brown, the guy that kind of broke that on Friday, he was actually my old editor when I was doing blog stuff for the SB Nation for the Iowa blog. He was the guy that I went to for edits on occasion. So that was kind of I was ran out of it. It's like, oh, all right, well, kind of cool. But hey, the thing that he's got, a subscription-based blog, letter like that, a Substack. I mean, that's the future. Once the Missoulian finally lays me off, that'll be the direction that I'm going in. So,
well, I'm not going to say any. I mean, Lee just furloughed a bunch of people or laid a bunch of people off. But anyway, Helena lost its Carol beat writer here. I'd like to know that full story with Ryan. maybe off the air you can tell me.
Yeah, I would say maybe off the air we could have a chat about that one.
So if Southern Utah goes and Northern Arizona, possibly Poly, Davis, maybe Sac, to help out the WAC, obviously that would be nice. You could end up having then a easier traveling Big Sky conference. The problem, Jordy, that I potentially see is I think in the next few years, you'll have Portland State and Northern Colorado drop back to D2 because of financial responsibilities. And then that leaves the Big Sky kind of, less than half of what it was. You still have your powers with Eastern, Montana State. But if you only have, 6-7 schools, that changes the Big Sky dramatically.
Well, and I definitely for football, but I think for basketball too, because I mean the Northern Colorado, that would be a big loss. I mean Portland State's been, a decent team, at least last year, and that would be a loss. I mean, NAU's had some decent teams, and trying to schedule those teams just simply for seeding purposes and stuff like that. I mean, it's not the best, but they do usually have some of those teams, especially Northern Colorado, usually have a decent RPI or whatever metric that they're using now. I should know that. But it'll change things for other sports. And if you lose NAU, you lose one of the best cross country teams in the country.
Yep.
I mean, like it's other little things like that as well, and non-revenue sports and stuff like that are still bringing in some high quality athletes for the rest of the Big Sky, because they know they'll be able to compete against some of these teams as well. So I really think that if Southern Utah does leave, and if Northern Colorado or Northern Arizona would drop down or drop to a different, or go to a different conference, I really think that that's going to have a long-term impact on the Big Sky and not just in football.
Remember 10 years ago when everybody's freaking out because all the shifting and the Power Fives? And now it's almost coming
Relentless.
back down to the Big Sky level. I know we're not going to see Montana and Montana State leave. I know, and that was a big talk for a long time, a decade ago, was, oh, the Grizz are too good, they need to move up, which was a dumb idea anyway. Because the WAC wanted the Grizz back when the WAC was D1, and that was just a dumb even argument. Like, the Grizz were going to get smoked. And we see now the downfall, they're not as good as they used to be, so...
Mm-hmm. Well, and Kent Haslam is is the representative for the Big Sky for both the FCS athletic directors and also the FCS Division One competitive committee. I can't think exactly what it's called top, but so Kent, I mean, is a big a really big figure in that. The Big Sky and the FCS. So I mean, he's going to fight to obviously keep the Grizz in the Big Sky and probably try to keep some of these other teams too. So it'll just be interesting to see how the politics kind of at that level play out. And I don't have a good insight into all of those politics, but I do kind of have an idea as far as what Montana State wants. I mean, they are going to want to protect some of those rivalries and teams that they started to have stuff with. And it's just the Big Sky is just kind of a weird place all over, and especially now with the drop in revenue and stuff like that. It's been tough for a lot of these teams. But I know Montana and Montana State want to be in the same conference, and they do want to be in the Big Sky. So it'll be definitely.
Well, I appreciate the time as always, my man. We went long today. I like it. You're like a plethora of knowledge today. It's fun.
Sometimes even more. You called me as I was coming back from the antique shop today, so found some treasures today. So that was fun.
Well, as much of okay, so you're an antiquer, you're a hiker. How come you didn't go find Forrest Fenn's treasure?
I've been looking, but I just haven't put it all together yet. So
somebody found it 2 months ago, and then he just died the other day. So anyway,
well, he probably hit it somewhere else. So I'm just gonna have to go.
I like it. Appreciate it. Hey, next week I want to get your thoughts because you mentioned Iowa. I want to talk about the wave because to me that's one of the coolest things in sports, and I want to ask you about it because I'm sure you've seen it. So we'll talk about the wave, also the high school stuff as we always do, but plan on that as well.
Well, and the Jets will probably fire Adam Gacy, so I can put on my whole first time, long time. What do you think about what the Jets are doing to these? Go full Mike Francesca, I guess. So.
I like it. I like that. I just love talking with you, man. You're the best. Follow him at Jordy Hansen on the Twitter. You can call him Jordy Nelson if you want. He won't be offended. It is Jordan Hansen from the Missoulian. Appreciate it, my man, and we'll talk to you next week.
Oh, it's great to talk to you too, Jason. Appreciate it.
All right, that is Jordan Hansen joining us. Jason Walker Show, Mike Miller, State Farm Hotline. A little long, but it's interesting when you get a different perspective on sports other than just mine. So there you go. You're welcome for that. But yeah, how about Broadview Lavina? Giving up 100 points in the last 2 weeks. Back-to-back fitties. Shields Valley and Bridger. And Shields Valley is good. So anyway, all right. We got to do our Auto Concepts Performance of the Week. We got to hand that out. And, man, we saw some great ones. Tia Mercer's 4 goals, 4 assists in soccer. Kylie Hartnett, 7 rushing touchdowns, a state record, 348 receiving yards, tons and tons of great stuff. But we had our first state champions crowned since March. And I got to give it to, we're going to go Auto Concepts Performance of the Week is our golf teams from across the state that won over the weekend. And won on Friday, rather, when you go for Sentinel boys, Bozeman girls, Cade McDonough individually on the boys' side, Sammy Yates, Bozeman on the girls' side. McDonough's only a freshman. Think about that. Class A, Whitefish boys, led by teammates Cameron Colley and Billy Smith, who Colley wins in a one-hole playoff. And then the Laurel girls who go back to back. And then Macy Greenwood of Corvallis with a win on the individual side. So that's our Auto Concepts Performance of the Week. All right, real quick, this day in history. It is Child Health Day, Apple Betty Day, which is like the Apple, just Google it. It's like an Apple Crisp. Do Something Nice Day, Get Funky Day, and Rhode Island Day. 1908, White Sox pitcher Ed Walsh, his 40th victory of the season. 1915, Ty Cobb steals his 96th base of the year. It would stand as the Major League record until 1962 when Maury Wills went for 104. 1921, the first World Series radio broadcast. Yankees beat the Giants. 1932, the Detroit Falcons officially changed their name to the Detroit Red Wings, and the winged wheel is introduced. 1986, Eric Dickerson runs for an NFL overtime record 42-yard touchdown. LA defeats Tampa. 1991, Fresno State ties a football record NCAA, 49 points in the second quarter, routing New Mexico, 94-17. I think Jim Sweeney was still the coach. 2003, the Cubs win their first MLB postseason series since 1908 World Series. They beat Atlanta in the NLDS, and then they lost the NLCS to Miami, Florida. 2007, after years of angry denials, triple gold medal winning American sprinter Marion Jones admits she used steroids and pleads guilty to lying to federal investigators, announces retirement in a tearful apology, and then the medals returned to the Olympic Committee. Happy birthdays. Ray Kroc, born on this date, 1902. Why are we talking about the McDonald's entrepreneur? Well, he used to be the owner of baseball San Diego Padres. 1965, Mario Lemieux was born, the Hockey Hall of Famer. Same day, Hockey Hall of Famer Patrick Roy was born, and both in Quebec. Lemieux, born in Montreal, and Roy, born in Quebec City. Happy birthday to KRTV Television Channel 3 in Great Falls. Debuted on this date in 1958. And Kate Winslet, Rose from the Titanic, was born on this date in 1975. On this date in 1877, Chief Joseph surrendered just south of Havre in the Bear's Paw Mountains, ending the Nez Perce War, also the Nez Perce. It's actually the correct pronunciation of the Nez Perce is Nez Perce, but Chief Joseph's speech, unbelievable. I will fight no more forever speech. Remember that one? Tell General Howard I know his heart. What he told me before, I have it in my heart. I'm tired of fighting. Our chiefs are killed. Looking Glass is dead. Tahuhul Swoot is dead. The old men are all dead. It's the young men who now say yes or no. The young children are freezing to death. I'd like to basically paraphrase. I want to go look for my children, see how many I can find. Hear me, my chiefs. I am tired. My heart is sick and sad from where the sun now stands. I will fight no more forever. Unbelievable speech from an unbelievable guy. Chief Joseph of the Nez Perce he surrendered on this date. 1892, the Dalton Gang surrendered. Well, not really. They ended in a shootout in Coffeyville, Kansas. And in 2001, Mike Mansfield passed away, for a great Montana politician. He was born in 1903. All right. I know we're still running late. Or not even running late. It's not on radio. It doesn't matter what we do. We can go as long as we want. Maybe we'll go 2 hours some days. I don't know. Okay, let's do this, though.
We're almost at the end of the show. What did we learn? And what did he miss? Time for the walk-off.
Big thanks to Jordan Hansen joining us from the Missoulian tomorrow. Danny Sprinkle will be a guest. And Nicole Ragoni will be back on Thursday. That's what she said. We're going to talk about Montana State basketball. Will there be a season in the Big Sky for the Bobcats? And what about playing in a bubble? We'll talk to Danny Sprinkle tomorrow here on the show. Once again, your Auto Contest Performance of the Week, the State A and AA teams and individuals that won golf titles last week. Be safe, be happy, be nice. Have a magnificent Monday night. We'll see you back here tomorrow with Danny Sprinkle. Go to JasonWalkerShow.com if you missed anything.
The Jason Walker Show is produced by the Jason Walker Media Company. Any reuse, rebroadcast, or retransmission without the express written consent of the Jason Walker Show is strictly prohibited. Just listen, watch, and enjoy.